All right, welcome back to another Right Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright and Paulie. Opening day, finally, real opening day.
The
Not
real.
Japanese, real opening day today. Pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. And I know, so in the Stewart household, my son's a big Brewers fan, so they've got the I guess the official first game. The Brewers are at the Yankees. First pitch at 3 o'clock on ESPN. Freddie Peralta, Brewers ace, versus Carlos Rodon, a local legend here in North Carolina. Wolfpacker went to Holly Springs High School, dominated the high school and the amateur circuit. And
Hey, real quick. Hey, Paulie, do you remember, was it me and you that went to a game and saw him pitch? Was it me and you?
I don't think so.
When he was at NC State?
No, I don't think so.
So I went, and a couple of things I noticed then that have become much more evident as he's gotten on the bigger platform. Number one, big. 6'2", 6'3", but not just height-wise. Like, even in college, he was a thick.
Big legs.
Looked like he could play linebacker.
Yeah, big kid.
Number two, it's weird, but I guess this is how it happens, but like slider being your best pitch. Like you think about a guy who's a high draft pick, fastball being exceptional. And his was good. It is good. But slider, best pitch. And I guess there's been some really good lefties that's kind of been that way. But it was just so sharp and he could throw it for a strike. And now a Yankees opening day starter, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Garrett Cole probably would have been the opening day starter, but Carlos Rodon kind of backed his way into it. But still, probably an opening day starter on 15 other teams as well. But yeah, so congratulations to Mr. Rodon.
Hey, I want to say one more thing. I want to see if this caught your last year. I was just thinking about it. I watched Carlos, obviously, from a biased standpoint as an NC State fan.
Yeah.
I feel like there were so many times last year he would roll. And then all of a sudden he'd have this one inning where guys just got after him and he couldn't kind of reset. When you think about him last year with the Yankees, does that come to mind or is there something else or is there anything that comes to mind when you think about his season last year?
No, very similar, right? Had a really good year, was successful, pitched really well, but he would run into like a trouble inning.
Yeah, it felt like our baseball level.
Yeah, and then and maybe an error was the catalyst to it, or a walk, or leadoff walk, something like that. And then, it was like a terrible inning for Carlos Rodon. It's like 2 or 3 runs. It's not
right.
It's not like an 8-run inning, or I mean maybe occasionally, right? But sometimes as a pitcher, it's more mental and having a little fortitude to make that pitch, right? To get that strikeout, because like, gosh, man, the defense is kicking it everywhere. They're just not locked in right now. I've got to strike a couple people out, and he has the ability to do that. But sometimes you start forcing the action, putting a little more pressure on yourself. Maybe try to overthrow, and that's not good for really any pitch. Trying to overthrow, even a fastball. Sometimes you just leave it up because your mechanics get a little loose. But yeah, I definitely saw that. But even with all that, I think he has just the raw, pure stuff to get himself out of some innings. So
and it almost looks like, and I don't know him personally at all, it just almost looks like he doesn't grind the way you need to grind, but I shouldn't even probably say that. He's obviously had a great deal of success. I'm always amazed by guys who have really good stuff, and I know the hitters in the big leagues are really good, but like really dominating stuff, and then you get hit, and it's like, dude, is it mentally? Is it and I guess the reality is, dude, the other guys are just really good too.
Yeah. You look at big league lineups up and down, and it's pretty incredible. Those guys are there for a reason, and at the top of the lineup. And that's the crazy thing too, is like you think about the guys that are batting 7th, 8th, and 9th, like it's the bottom of the lineup. It's like those guys are still the best players from their college, from their high school, from their hometown, wherever it is. And they've worked their way up through minor league system. They didn't just randomly throw some dudes at the bottom of the lineup. Those are legitimate big league ball players. So yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. So Brian, you mentioned you had something to share about before we jump into.
So the other night, we had Ben on yesterday.
Yeah, Ben Orlando. Yeah.
But Tuesday night, good little college baseball midweek. A couple things. NC State against Upstate, South Carolina Upstate.
Yep.
Gets 10-run ruled, 15-10. And a lot of people look at that score and like, dude, that's incredible. How's that happen? Well, NC State lets a lot of guys throw that hasn't got a ton of innings. And then they kind of prove when they hadn't got a ton of innings. You got another team that is very motivated to beat a team that probably a lot of those kids wanted to have opportunities to play at. And so got beat. That's not really my story. My story was after that, I was watching ECU and Duke. Really good game. Really good game. They were playing at Duke. And tight game late in the game. A Duke player walks Albright, slams his bat down, and starts chirping at the pitcher about throwing strikes. It walked in a runner, made it 6-4. And then the coach for ECU, Godwin, starts chirping at the player.
Yeah,
Tell him to get down to first base and shut his mouth. Say that again?
I think it's fair, yeah.
I thought so too.
No need for that, yeah.
And then Pollard, the head coach of Duke, starts chirping at Godwin.
Godwin, okay, yeah.
And then they both get thrown out. So I was just wondering, are we to a point, and again, I know college baseball is more like playoff emotional baseball because there's so many fewer games. But are we to a point to where we chirp after getting a walk? Is that kind of where we've got to emotionally
honestly,
chirp after getting a walk?
That's stupid. So honestly, that's on the umpire. The umpire needs to clean that up. The umpire needed to say, hey, Duke ball player running up the baseline, shut your mouth or you're out of this game. Like that, that's on the umpire to regulate. And sometimes, honestly, it probably caught the umpire off guard. Like, you don't expect that. And
you don't expect a slam bat. It almost looks like he hit a bomb.
Yeah,
turn around, almost slam bat down.
But when you see the bat slammed,
yes.
the umpire's radar probably should go up. And
I agree.
And then whatever action is taken right after. But I think Godwin was in the right to like, hey, shut your mouth.
Well, I agree. Then I thought Pollard was in the right for defending his player, even though
he's got to defend his guy.
He's got to defend his player.
But then after the game, he needs to get into his guy and say, look, dude, you freaking walked. Like,
go to first base. Now, the guy that was pitching for East Carolina was dirty. He was throwing like 94, 95 mile an hour sinkers. He was dirty, but you walked. So anyway.
But yeah, and then go look at your dugout, give them a fist pump. Like, yeah, we did it. We scored a run. We're winning. Yeah, but then just
get to first base.
Just get up the line. Go stand on one of the 7 bags that are over. Pick your bag. Anyway, so
all right, back to baseball, dude. Get us
big league ball. All right, so the story of the season, as much as you may or may not like it, you know where I'm at with this, Brian. I'm a dynasty guy.
I know.
The Dodgers to me will be the biggest story of the year. So we're gonna when we talk about these teams, we're gonna talk about kind of the over under, what their over unders are for wins for the season. The Dodgers are at 103.5. That's a lot of wins.
Dude, I'm saying they're flirting with that record. I think it was Seattle at 116 or 118 or whatever it was. I think that's they're a legitimate threat. I would be surprised if again, I should bet this. 110, I think, is kind of just a solid year. I really think they could win 120 games. They are so now injuries can happen, but dude, they're so deep. They can have 2 superstars sit out and still have the best lineup in the league.
Well, that's essentially what happened on the opening day in Japan. Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts were both out. And so you're right, Brian. The Mariners had 116 wins in 2001, and then got knocked out of the playoffs by the Yankees. But the Dodgers, man, just that lineup is unbelievable.
And the pitching is too, bro.
Well, I was going to get there, right? But with Betts and Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez and Will Smith and just Max Muncy's solid. Like the whole thing is
Max Muncy on another team is a 3-hole guy.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, geez, they're just killing. And then their rotation is like legit just stocked full of Cy Young guys, right? And so I actually have one of my friends I still talk to or text with is one of the trainers on the Dodgers, and I was texting with him after the Japanese series. I was like, "Man, you guys look great. How yeah, we were talking, how was the trip?" Here's the question I asked him, Brian. I said, "Yeah, in the States here, we have Japanese restaurants." I said, "In Japan, do they have American restaurants?" And he said they do. I was
I've
like,
seen Bauer when he's playing over there, and he's playing over there again this year. He does a really good job, kind of, documenting not only his trip but his games that he's playing in, and talking about different experiences, and the lot more video game culture over there, even for
yeah,
adults. But one of the places that he was at, yeah, they have traditional American food.
yeah. And he said a lot of Italian restaurants as well over there.
I'm not a huge Italian guy, but I would be interesting. Sushi would be number one. Bauer, dude, anybody, I know Bauer gets plenty of love and hate, whatever. But dude, if you are just into YouTube and seeing baseball stories, dude, he does a really good job. He comes across as very likable. He started a new one. He just went over March 1st back to Japan. He pitched in a spring training game. He does a great, if you're a young pitcher and you're really into it now, even if you're a casual baseball fan, he does one that's kind of a big overview. And then he does one where he breaks down pitch and his thought process and everything. And from same game, he is worth a watch. And he kind of gives you a view of what he's trying to do. He's dropped like 20 pounds. He looks great, dealing with
I
some.
did see, I did see one of Instagrams when he gets a lot. He gets not a little, a lot chirpy with opponents.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He doesn't take it the same way I think me and you do. He is extremely chirpy. Yeah, extremely chirpy.
Super, and I don't know if it's
It's almost in good love though, because people will hit one out on him, and he's like, dude, he pepped the shit out of that. Not, hey, he deserved it. He takes it differently than I feel like maybe me and you do. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah. I'd say it's it almost feels very video game culture the way
Mm-hmm.
he approaches it, and I think somebody was popping off to him about not throwing a fastball. And so then he ripped off like 25 straight sliders or breaking balls. And after every strikeout was like, he was like, F you. And then do like a big Degeneration X suck it or something like that. But I think you're right. I think everybody just sees him almost as a show
Dude,
less,
he
and
is.
they don't
Dude,
take it very personal. And I don't know how much of it is for the socials and all that kind of stuff.
I think he does run with the edge, but I also think he's really intelligent. Like this is a guy who's an engineer or something that if he's not doing baseball, I think his dad was an engineer. I think maybe he studied that at UCLA.
I
But
feel like, yeah.
anyway, not to beat a dead horse and take
Well,
your story down another road,
that's
but
an
yeah.
interesting story. That's another story that's will I don't say loom, but will be in the
He can
background.
pitch in the big leagues. Obviously, we've talked about some of his issues and some of the things he's facing, but there's no question his stuff is good enough. I mean, here's the
He's
reality. Japanese baseball and American baseball, the difference isn't this anymore. They used to be known, it's like we had AAA here. They were like 4A. They were somewhere above AAA, but not quite the big leagues. Dude, it is the difference between those teams over there and American teams, MLB teams, is somewhere they're better than the White Sox.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Their middle of the road teams are better than the White Sox, who are
No,
predicted
absolutely.
to lose 110 games.
So let's go. Let's do that, Brian. Let's hit both ends of the spectrum right off the bat. So the Dodgers 103 and a half, and I think we both think they're going to go over that number. The White Sox number is a robust 53 and a half. I mean, that's a terrible season.
Well, it's just tough whenever you start with that kind of outlook. It's one thing if you develop into like, hey, we're terrible. It's terrible when you start like, hey, we're not going to win 60 games. We're going to lose 100 games. I mean, and I can't hardly name a Bettinelli. I don't even know. I can't even hardly name players on their team anymore. It's like I saw one meme. Somebody's like, the only way you get on the White Sox roster if you're a backup catcher or a backup utility infielder, and that's the only way they'll keep you on the roster. They cut a kid who hit like over 400 for the spring training. I know spring training don't necessarily mean anything, but had a really good spring training. They cut a kid, and you're like, dude, what do you? If you can't make the White Sox roster coming out of spring training hitting over 400, how does that actually translate? How does that work?
Yeah, it feels like you're probably trying to get as many guys that could do a little something out
Hey,
there.
let's go somewhere else with this. What are they doing, dude? That's a good franchise. Why are they doing this? Why do they not have players?
I don't. Yeah, I think back to so again growing up, and this is 30 years ago, but like Frank Thomas and Robin Ventura and all those guys, and they won the series in '05, right? And
Yeah, 20 years ago.
I'm looking at the roster. Andrew Benintendi, you would know that name. Luis Robert Jr.,
You know that name.
Michael A. Taylor.
I don't know that name.
Outside of that, it's a lot of guys. Neither of us know a whole lot about it all. But hey, they're still big league ball players. But I don't know.
Why?
When you look at some of these things, it's GM plays a big factor into it. Ownership willing to spend a little bit of money. Farm system development. You look at the Astros. The Astros were losing a lot of games, 15 years ago. They drafted the right way, got the right guys in the system. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Rays. There's no reason, absolutely no reason they should be over 500 every year or contending for the AL East. I mean, nobody is calling the AL Central the AL East, and the White Sox have not been close in a long, long, long time. And it's I don't know, man.
You
Nobody
make a
wants to
good
play
point,
well.
though. You make a good point. They could be taking the Houston route, the Baltimore route, to where we're committed to getting a core young group that comes up through the system.
But
But
nobody's talking about their minor league system either, though.
not right now, not right now, and it feels like those other those other organizations
Franchise.
are still drafting really well. One of the predictions is, hey, Sox lose 110 games, and Jerry finally agrees to sell the team. And I don't think he's selling the team because you don't sell it when it's at the least amount of value.
No,
But
get it
man,
to win it
that's a
too.
really good franchise.
Yeah, I mean, historically, goes back to one of the first teams, and man, and the thing too, like baseball is not like basketball where you get a lottery pick. You, you can move up, like legitimately go plus 5 or even 10 games the next year based on one player. Um, Baseball, you've got to draft. You've got to hit on like 2 or 3 guys
Yeah, but maybe. Yeah.
every year, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're drafting, now like 25 guys or whatever it is. It's a smaller number, but maybe the thing they need to do is gosh man, let's take the college player who is closest to the big leagues right now, and maybe he doesn't turn out to be an all-star, but he turns out to be a solid, veteran sort of thing, right? Or maybe he is an all-star. Hopefully he is, right, for the White Sox, but. Maybe that's the route they need to take. Again, it's tough, man, when you're kind of going through this, and it just doesn't seem like there's any hope. And like, who wants? If you're going to Chicago,
You're going to see the Cubs.
you're going to see the Cubs, or you want to play for the Cubs. You're going to go to Wrigleyville. You want to do all that. Nobody wants to. And the White Sox are looking for a new stadium too.
Man, I was wondering if they were looking to move or something.
Yeah.
They
Well,
are.
they want a new stadium, but the city doesn't want to pay for because Comiskey is what did they come around 93, 94 in that time frame.
I thought it was older, but it's not as old. It's
It
funny.
was
like
early. It
some
was
of these
early
stadiums-
90s. But here's the thing: Comiskey was built right before Camden Yards, and so Comiskey still has the look and feel of like that kind of 60s kind of cookie cutter. There's not a whole lot of care. Like when you think Comiskey, does anything come to mind?
No fans.
Empty stadium, right? But
Yeah.
when you think Camden, even if it's an empty stadium, you think Camden Yards, you're like, oh, that's a sweet yard. Like it's
Oh, it is. Yeah, we've been there.
yeah. But they
And to their defense, I've never been to the White Sox. I've been around the Cubs, and you just feel kind of the history there.
yeah.
Which is different. But yeah, I don't know. We've got a couple of teams playing in random stadiums this year. I wonder what kind of impact. Tampa, you mentioned,
Yeah, Tampa and the A's are both playing in minor league stadiums, right? So the A's with no city attached to it now until I guess 2028 when they move to Vegas, will be playing in West Sacramento over at I guess the old Sacramento Bees Stadium or Sacramento Channel Cats or whatever they were. Um, so that and then the Tampa Bay Rays will be in Legends Field or Steinbrenner Field or whatever they're calling that down in Yankee Spring Training facility now. And they've talked about, man, I've lived in Northern California and it gets pretty hot up there, man. And that Sacramento area, and then Tampa in the summer is it's no walk in the park either. It gets hot, and you got the 2:30 rainstorm that's going to come through every day, and uh, I mean, there's definitely going to be some challenges. But I don't know, Brian. And we talked about this the other day. You saw something where it said in the month of July and August, Tampa only had 8 home games per month. And then we looked at the schedule, and it's really it makes sense, right? There's an All-Star break in July, so there's some time off there, and it's just kind of they go on a big West Coast swing, right? So they're on the West Coast. It makes sense because they go to like Seattle, San Francisco, Oakland, and Anaheim all in one trip. So it's like, let's just knock that out. And but I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Having to play in a minor league stadium as a big league guy?
Well, I would imagine, and again, I never had that reference, but I can imagine typically in minor league stadiums, the lights aren't as good. And a lot of like really good hitters, and I remember Pete Rose forever talked about it. It's like, hey, it's easier to hit when you get to the big leagues. The lights are brighter, better lights. You don't have these goofy backgrounds, and pitchers are going to be around the zone. Now, they're not worried about different levels of pitcher, but they are different lighting and different backgrounds could have an influence. I mean, there's one stadium, I think it is Seattle, where the depth perception and averages have been way off because of how they've done the center field backdrop and the batter side where it is. They tried to move it, make it bigger, done some different things, and trees in different places. And I will say, as a hitter, there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to pick up the ball the same way you can at other ballparks. And that was one of the major frustrations in minor league ball. I would move, change stances. And so I would say those guys have done it. They're in the big leagues for a reason. They'll adjust. But to pretend like there would be no impact, I would also say that, Tampa, they got decent fan bases. There's a lot of Yankees fans, a lot of Red Sox. Now, it may not be their fan base, but they usually post pretty good crowds.
A lot of fans that go from people from the north that are snowbirds or have moved down or retired there. Yeah, I agree.
But I wonder who's going to show up for the Oakland game or for the Athletic games. I mean, they have actually spent some money this year. I mean, not a bunch of money, but they're $60, $70 million. They got a handful of $60, $70 million guys. And so they've spent some money this year, but I don't see them doing a whole lot either as far as fan base. There's one bold prediction that they're going to make the playoffs this year, that the Athletics will make the playoffs. And they are well run, but I don't see that happening. I like Rooker a lot. They got a hitter named Rooker, whatever it is.
Rooker. But that division's the Astros, the Rangers,
so tough.
the Mariners, and the A's. I don't really see. I mean, the Astros should maintain, or they're not the same as they were, 6-7 years ago, but they're still solid. I see the Rangers taking a step forward. They were already good. They had a really tough year last year pitching. They couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
But they're going to hit, man. They got a really solid lineup and get DeGrom back and some other things. I think that'll be. And then Seattle turned it on. Seattle just waited too late to turn it on last year. I think they've got a really good lineup, and that stadium plays so big, so big. If you're a pitcher and you're looking for somewhere to sign, like head out west, young man. That would make the most sense. And then the hitters have complained about it, but it's probably the only park that plays big in like the big leagues. It's interesting.
Well, that's interesting too, and I've heard watching a bunch of college baseball the same way. They put in a lot of fences as the bats have gotten so dead and down over the years, and kind of the same way in the big leagues. People like to see the home run, but like you said, that may be the only park that plays semi-big, and it only plays semi-big for certain parts of the year when you get a ton of humidity and the weather.
And so, Brian, let me ask you a question. This is interesting to me as well. It seems like there is a an imbalance of power from a team's perspective, and it's really shifted to the National League. So let me give you these teams, right? The Dodgers, clearly, the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, the Diamondbacks. Arguably could be all the top teams before you hit the Yankees or Orioles or Rangers, maybe Red Sox. I don't know. Even the Padres are really good, right? Like, is there a reason for that? Is it just kind of dumb?
Well, I think it's kind of like football for the longest time. It's kind of worked back and forth, AFC, NFC, and I kind of feel like it's kind of weird. It's almost the splitting of what molecules or whatever it was, atoms. Whenever you put them in the slot experiment, one goes one way, depending on whether you observe it or whether you don't observe it. And I don't think there's any rhyme or reason. I think there's different cycles where teams are at. I think there's a lot of teams that have developed good minor league systems in the NL, and it is showing fruition. And then you have the other side where they're just spending money. I feel like the Yankees are just spending money and willing to spend money. They're kind of the modern day Yankees. The Mets are, with the amount of money that they spent to bring in guys and keep guys.
Oh, absolutely. And I wonder if some of this too is tied. So the DH in the National League has been around for a few years now. Our National League teams now, and maybe this is a fetch, right? But our National League team's not fully ingrained and haven't fully embraced and really are investing in DHs as well to make those lineups even better. I feel like they probably would have done that from the jump.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the easy thing. There were so many guys, and I may have been one of those guys where I'm like, hey, he can hit, but he can't play. He can play one position, and so you can find another place. And it does feel like right now the balance is on the National League side, but nobody would be surprised if the Yankees were there, if Baltimore was there. Cleveland's going to be good again. There's going to be a contender on the other side. I just think it's Dodgers and everybody else, and then it's just I mean, I should actually put some real money and we should track this. I mean, not a ton of money, maybe $25-$50 or something, just to see the over. And just so we can track it, because I just think they're going to win 115, 16 games, 18 games. They are so good. And anything can happen. I mean, you can have an earthquake. I mean, anything can happen. But, dude, they're so good, man, on paper.
If you're putting the line out there, would you – what's your line? Would you put like 109?
I would put 110. I would have put 109.5 or 110. I probably would have put 109.5 just so you got something that
you got. Yeah, you have to have. Yeah, you can't. Have
but yeah. I mean, dude, it may be like Murder's Row from the 27 Yankees. I mean, it's something close to that, to where there are no easy outs up and down. And then you go on the other side, dude. You're facing, like you mentioned it. Perennial all stars, and they're not all. They're not all in their prime, but I'm going to be amazed. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised like at the All-Star break, and I know they play a little over half their games, I think, then. But if they're like 70 and something, 70 and like 20, I mean, something stupid at the All-Star break. I mean, it's going to be interesting. There's somebody who's predicted, probably this is ridiculous, I think, this year, but somebody's predicted Shohei Ohtani to have a 60-60 season.
It's not ridiculous. It's within the realm of possibility, like legitimately. I mean, what was he last year? 50 and 70?
Well, I know he's 50-50. He may have been up 50 and 70. I may have been one of those.
I mean, yeah, I think it's within the realm. It's like humanly possible for him for sure. That was one of my buddy I was texting about that's the trainer. We were talking, hey, good for a series, and I said, you guys are going undefeated. It's just kind of messing with them.
Yeah.
And I said, just imagine. And I was like, just imagine when Mookie and Freddie get healthy. And he's like, yeah, and our pitchers too. And then and he goes, yeah, we've also got this guy Shohei who's okay. Yeah. And I said, yeah, man, he's pretty good. And then he said he's a cyborg. Was how he described him, as a cyborg.
Hey, interesting tidbit on him. And I don't know if this is true, but he does not do in season, at least at one point in time, no live BP, no machine, all a lot of tea and a little soft toss is all he does in season for batting practice.
Really?
No live arm, no machine.
Really?
Yeah, that's at least a stated statement from
That seems
him.
impossible.
It seems impossible. So he's not hitting on the field. He's not hitting off these machines. Like we've been to big league BP and seen like now everybody uses machines. There's very few. I'm sure there's some organizations still do that are throwing an arm, but and they got a lot of these simulators in the back where guys going through this windup and they put in the program of DeGrom or whoever, whatever
Yeah.
they look like, whatever their pitch looks like, and there's this machine back there trying to simulate it. But yeah, supposedly he is all T soft toss and no live arm, no machine in season, which is
That seems impossible.
yeah,
I'm gonna validate that, buddy.
yeah. I
I'm
want
gonna
you
get to
to.
my
I want you
sources.
to.
Um, Another question for you, Brian. So one of the best players of the generation, Mike Trout, on the Angels. Uh, Angels are one of those teams down there with the White Sox and A's and Rockies and Marlins who not a lot of successes expected for them this year. 71.5 is the over under for them on the wins. I mean, if they got to 80 or if they got to 500 and we're like what does that matter for Mike Trout, right? Like, and he's clearly having a tough time staying healthy, but still when he's in the lineup, really productive. Do you see him getting traded this year or moving to
Oh
a
yeah,
team?
that's a great point. That's a great point. I think if he can stay healthy, it'd be interesting. I think one of the predictions is Mike Trout plays over 110 games, and I think you almost got to do some type of load management that they do in the NBA, right? Even if he's playing 5 out of 6 days or 4 out of 6 days, and just trying to. And I know he's had some fluky stuff with some injuries, but he's also seemed like some wear and tear stuff with injuries. And so, if you can figure out a way to keep him on the field, he is just one player. They got so many other problems. I think. It is really odd that organization that has really good fan support. You think about the Salmon's days and back in the day where there were really Garrett Anderson and some really good teams, but they
Yeah,
just
Jim Edmonds as well back in the day. And then
yeah
even back into the 80s, my boy Mark Langston and then they had Chuck Finley was a great pitcher and Wally Joyner and some like
yeah Chuck Finley was the pitcher I was
86 they
trying to
went to
think
the
of.
LCS and lost that whole thing and but yeah, they've been willing to spend the money.
Yeah,
Brought in
just poorly.
brought in Josh Hamilton, spent a lot of money. Brought in Albert Pujols, spent a lot of money. Brought in Anthony Rendon, and everybody hates Anthony Rendon. Anthony Rendon has not helped himself or done a whole lot to gain any sort of favor by
And if you
anybody.
heard some of his, I just think as a normal person, if you heard like somebody say, "Well, I don't even watch baseball if I'm not playing," I think it hits
You
people
would,
the wrong way.
if you saw him in a car on the street, you would want to run your car into him probably as just a
You just don't, like all of us do. We're trying to make a living. We're digging into however we can to get an edge and whatever. We kind of study our craft or learn this or try to keep trying to progress. Then you got somebody who's got a guaranteed contract that says, "Hey, man, I don't even watch
I
baseball."
don't even
Like,
care. Yeah, I barely.
yeah, it just comes across. Again, you probably need an attitude in a lot of ways to be successful. But I don't think you can't. You don't like you said. You don't do yourself any favors by presenting the attitude to the public when
But
you're making all this money and not performing.
no, gosh. But to your point, or to the earlier point, the Angels, Vlad Guerrero, they had like they. It seems like they are really willing and want to win, right? They're trying. It seems like they're trying, but they're kind of buying like going to the used bin a little bit and getting guys right just on the downside and they catch them with some really kind of funky injuries and different things and um that's one of those organizations who you really can't fault. It feels like they're trying to do the right thing and it just either bad luck or bad intel or whatever it is.
Well, I'll say this: it's almost, and we all knew these people growing up. I don't know these circles anymore, but we all knew like girls that we were friends with, or maybe friends of friends who kept picking like bad boyfriends, and you're like, he's
Yeah.
just not a good guy. He's just not a good guy, and they always get cheated on, or something happens, or they treat them poorly, and it feels like they're kind of the girl that just has some
Can't
bad luck
pick.
and
Yeah.
bad judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the so going back to Trout for a second. So So really consistent from his rookie year, his full first year, 2012 to 2019, was playing a lot of games. What, one, two, three MVPs, a rookie of the year, always, man, just amazing. Like he was like everybody's comparing him to like Mickey Mantle.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
2020 was the COVID year. He played 53 games. 2021, he played 36 games. 2022, he played 119 games. So yeah, close to a full season. 2023 played 82 games. And then last year played 29 games and had some hamstring issues and things like that. But um, man, just a really rough, just past 4 or 5 years here for Mike Trout. And again, a career 299 hitter, gets on base a ton. Yeah, used to steal bases, not doing that as much anymore, right? But just a generational talent. It's kind of a bummer to like have him kind of his health fail on him a little bit and not be able to be on the field, because I think we're missing out on what should be kind of the tail end of a really really great career. But
He
hopefully,
feels like
good.
he feels kind of like King Griffey Jr. light. When King Griffey Jr. he was on pace. He's not to that level. Obviously I put King Griffey Jr. on a different level than
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
But he feels like, man, if he could have stayed healthy, what could he have been? Hey, Paulie, I got to get out on this. So I want to ask you one more thing, and you see it from your perspective. Ellie De La Cruz, first player to steal at least 80 bases since 1988. Like, I didn't realize there hadn't been somebody, but obviously with the rules now, do you feel
Yeah.
like that's going to happen or could happen?
I feel like Ellie De La Cruz is reckless on the bases. Just he tries to steal every base he can. Like if there was a base just like sitting in the outfield that a field got left out, he would run and try to steal that. Like he's really fast, and I think the new rules do or make it easier, right? Because if you get a couple throws over there, you can get an extra step. You can do those sort of things. The pitch clock, you can kind of get the timing down a little bit, and maybe even get a read off of that. I think if he wants to do it, he will do it. The thing with Ellie is he strikes out way too much. If he would get on base more, it's like way easier. Just put the ball and play more.
He can motor, dude. Hey, thinking back to Tuesday night, as I was watching that game, ECU pitcher had a balk move. Did you ever have a balk move? Right-handed pitcher. He would break the left knee and then go to first. It wasn't called. He picked off two guys as a right-handed pitcher.
A little cheat move, yeah. No,
Did you ever have one? Did you ever try? Did you?
No, I never had one. I had a teammate who had a really good one, a righty who had a really good one. I could never get it down. I think if you're a good dancer, you can do stuff like that and have a little more rhythm. And I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to kind of skirt the rule. And then like, oh, I spent hours of my life doing this, and I get called for a balk every time. I probably should have tried it. Like it would have been worth it. Like we're talking about with Rodon. Sometimes you're trying to get out of a jam, and you need anything you can do to get out of that pickle. And it was something like that. But well, Brian and I, the Right Suit Podcast, we're excited for opening day today. We hope your team on this day has all the hope that they can possibly have, because this is the time. It's springtime, and hope reigns eternal. So good luck to your favorite team and franchise out there. We'll be watching all the baseball today, and then be talking about it for the next few months, and we are stoked about that. So go out there, make it a great day.
Out, go Pack. I think 17-8, 17-7. Bad.